They call it running an errand. That's the first lie. You don't run into a grocery store. You enter a tactical combat zone disguised as a place of commerce. You tell yourself it's just the essentials: bread, milk, and maybe those seasonal cookies that are 90% sugar and 10% regret. But the moment you cross those automatic sliding doors, you aren't a customer anymore. You're a participant in a social experiment designed to break your spirit and your will to live. It always starts with the cart selection. There are 50 carts lined up, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. But you of course pick the one with the death wobble. One wheel is permanently locked at a 45-degree angle, screaming like a banshee every time you push it. You try to swap it, but a middle-aged man in a beige windbreaker is already staring at you, his eyes daring you to make a scene. So, you accept your fate. You and your screaming metal companion begin the long, arduous trek into the abyss. First stop, produce. This is where the avocado architects live. You know the ones. They stand over the bin for what feels like an eternity, gently squeezing every single avocado as if they're performing a delicate medical exam. They aren't just looking for lunch. They're searching for the meaning of life in the form of a perfectly ripe fruit, and they don't care that you standing right behind them with a bag of spinach that's slowly wilting in your hand. And then you face the plastic bags. The ultimate test of human dignity. You stand there, a beautiful bunch of bananas in hand, desperately trying to find the opening of that thin, static clinging piece of plastic. You rub your fingers together, nothing. You lick your thumb, which you know is disgusting. We all know it's disgusting, but at this point, you're desperate. Finally, it opens, but only after you've accidentally ripped a giant hole in the bottom. You just shove the bananas in anyway. Your pride now slightly lower than it was 5 minutes ago. Now we enter the main aisles, or, as I like to call them, the Great Roadblock. Why is it that the moment two people who haven't seen each other since 1994 meet, they decide the most convenient place to catch up on 30 years of history is right in front of the canned tomatoes? They park their carts diagonally, forming a perfect V-shape that would stop a SWAT team in its tracks. You want to say, "Excuse me," right? But no. This is mildly toxic territory. You stand there. You stare. You breathe loudly. You check your watch with exaggerated movements. You wait for the realization to dawn on them that they are the main characters in a tragedy of their own making. When they finally do move, they don't apologize. They just give you a look, as if your simple desire to buy pasta sauce is a massive intrusion on their sacred, once-in-a-lifetime reunion. And just when you think you've figured out the layout, you encounter the grocery store shuffle. This is where the store management decides, for no logical reason, to move the peanut butter. You go to the aisle where it's been for the last 5 years, and now it's been replaced by gluten-free dog treats. You're forced to wander the aisles like a ghost, searching for a sign, but the signs are all lies. The sign clearly says baking, but all you find is light bulbs and charcoal. You're now 30 minutes into what was supposed to be a 5-minute trip. Your frozen peas are starting to sweat. Your screaming cartwheel has developed a new, higher-pitched squeal that's attracting stares. You see a special offer for a giant, family-sized jar of pickles you don't even like. And, for a split second, you consider buying it just to feel like you've won something, anything. But you haven't won. The store is winning. Finally, you see the finish line. The checkout. You spot a 15 items or less lane. There's only one person in it. You think, this is it. Home stretch. But as you pull up, you realize that one person has 47 individual cans of cat food, each requiring a separate scan, and they've decided now is the perfect time to pay for it entirely in unrolled nickels. The cashier looks defeated. You feel defeated. So you pivot to the self-checkout, the great mechanical traitor. You scan your milk. A cold, robotic voice announces, "Unexpected item in the bagging area." You remove the milk. The voice retorts, "Please place the item in the bagging area." You put the milk back. The red light starts flashing. Assistance is on the way. You stand there, bathed in the blinking red light of failure, waiting for a bored teenager to come over, scan a magic card, and tell the machine that you aren't, in fact, a criminal trying to steal a gallon of 2%. By the time you finally get to your car, you're exhausted. You load your bags, get into the driver's seat, and it hits you. You forgot the bread. You have the pickles you didn't want, the gluten-free dog treats you don't need, and the seasonal cookies, but no bread. You just sit there, gripping the steering wheel, and realize the gauntlet has won again. And the worst part? You know you'll be back to do it all over again next week. Thanks for watching. If you survived your last grocery trip, hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.